The COVID-19 pandemic has uniquely affected children and families by disrupting routines, changing relationship and roles, and altering usual childcare, school, and recreational activities. So hi, my name is Jimmy Hayoma, and together with my group mates, we are the Group 1 of P226 in Mathematics and a Modern World. So tonight, we will going to discuss the quantitative research entitled Impact of Pandemic to the Daily Life of the Selected Family in Barangay Villa Principe, Gumaca, Quezon in the year of 2020 to 2021. So let's begin with the rationale. A lot has changed when this COVID-19 pandemic happens. Everyone affected to the impact of this pandemic. This pandemic has forced families to try to maintain work-family balance with few supports. Many countries are lacking their population and enforcing strict quarantine to control the spread of the havoc of this highly communicable disease. In healthcare includes such as challenges in the diagnosis, quarantine, and treatment of suspected or confirmed cases, high burden of the functioning of the existing medical system, patients with other disease and health problems are getting neglected, overload on doctors and other healthcare professionals who are at very high risk, overloading of medical shops, and etc. In economic, such as slowing of manufacturing of essential goods, disrupt the supply chains of products, losses in national international business, poor cash flow in the market, etc. And also in social, such as service sector is not being able to provide their proper service, cancellation or postponement of large-scale sports and tournaments, disruption of celebration of cultural, religious, and festive events, undue stress among the population, social distancing with our peers and family members, and also the postponement of examination. So this section discusses the importance of the study to the society, the country, the government, the community, and the institution, and also to the people in Barangay Villa Principe, and the thesis dissertation writer himself. The researcher came up with the title, The Impact of Pandemic to the Daily Life of the Selected Family in Barangay Villa Principe, Gumaca, Quezon, that will help the people to know the impact of pandemic to the daily life and to know how to handle and survive in this challenging time. The main purpose of this study is to determine the impact of pandemic to the daily life of the selected family in Barangay Villa Principe, Gumaca, Quezon. Specifically, this study aimed to know the demographic profile of the respondents as the civil status, family income, and the family or the number of family member. The impact of pandemic to their daily life, impact in business, in education, in daily routine, and also in travel restriction, and how they survive during the pandemic. And now, let me introduce you Mr. Sagi to discuss the statement of the problem.
My name is Gerson Segi. My topic is about statement of the problem. The main objective of the study determine the impact of the pandemic to the daily life selected family in Barangay Villa Principe, Gumaca, Quezon, year 2020 to 2021. Accessibility it aims to answer the following specific question. Number 1. What is the demographic profile in the terms of name, sex, age, civil status, occupation, and also family income. What is the impact of the pandemic to your daily life in terms of in business, in allocations, in daily routine, and in the travel restriction? Last but not the least is how do families survive during a pandemic?
A pleasant morning to everyone, to my co-members, and especially to our professor, Mr. J.M. Sabiron. I am Rian Shamgulya, a second-year BSMT student, together with Christopher Cedric Solis to present to you our questionnaire in a research proposal. The first table shows the demographic profile of the respondents, as provided below, given the civil status, which has four groups: single, married, divorced, and widowed. The family income monthly criteria range from 5,000 pesos below up to 25,000 and above. And last but not the least, the quantity of member in a household, which are 1 to 5 members, 6 to 10 members, and 10 members and above. Table 2.0 shows the questions about the impact of the pandemic concerning business. And here are the sample questions below. Number 1, as an entrepreneur, the pandemic taught me a lot about business. Number 2, COVID-19 pandemic affects my business. Question number 3, it is a perfect time to have my own business in our barangay. Number 4, as an online seller, it helps me a lot. And the last number, we experienced a halt in operation or phased closure because of the pandemic. Table 2.1 questionnaires focus on the impacts of the pandemic on education. And here are the questions below. Number 1, the sudden change to a fully online or modular class was smooth. Number 2, the technology we use for an online or modular class is reliable. Question number 3, my children choose to stop schooling because of the pandemic. Number 4, online or modular classes are so stressful. And last but not the least, distance learning will help us to reduce or stop the spreading of the virus. So here's the end of my presentation, and here's my groupmate Solis to provide continuation regarding this matter. Thank you.
2.2 in daily routine. Impact of pandemic in daily routine. Question. Number 1. We strongly feel our family together. Number 2. We have a lot of time and bonding with my family and friends. Number 3. We prefer to buy things online because of the pandemic. Number 4. Our life in our house is more on watching television, using gadgets, and reading online news. Number 5. Our behavior at home has changed. 2.3 in travel restriction. Impact of pandemic in the travel restriction. Question. Number 1. Because of the expensive fare, we prefer to use a bike or maybe a walk. Number 2. Travel restriction may lessen the spread of coronavirus throughout our barangay. Number 3. It's affect our barangay in terms of traveling goods and also affect our community in transportation community. 4. It's cause jobless to the people in our barangay who has only worked in service like family driver and other public utility transportation. Number 5. Delivery of essential things or goods are limited the cost of travel restriction. Part 3. How do family survive during the pandemic? Question. Number 1. We planted vegetable garden in our backyard. Number 2. Because of pandemic, I borrowed money so we could have something to eat every day. Number 3. Our daily life has changed. Number 4. We start a small business to fulfill our needs in our everyday life. Number 5. We sell our old clothes and other things to earn money.
My name is Bonjie Malapitan. I will be discussing the sampling technique. So this study used purposive random sampling technique where the respondents are selected families in Barangay Villa Principe to collect and gather the information that the researchers can main point on conducting this study and make the generalizations about that. This study is about the impact of the pandemic to the daily lives of the selected families in Barangay Villa Principe. The number of respondents are 30 total. This study used a questionnaire to gather data from the respondents in an easy way. Data analysis plan. The researchers tabulated and analyzed the gathered data with the help of statistical tools. The researcher used self-made questionnaire. The questionnaire contains two parts. The first part is composed of personal information, and the second is the impact of the pandemic to the selected family in Barangay Villa Principe. In this study, the researcher used statistical measures to treat the data collected. All the data were carefully read and examined for analysis. They were tallied and entered into master list of data collected sheet. Now, the percentage was used to interpret the profile of the respondents where P equals percentage, F number of responses, and N equals number of respondents. So to get the weighted mean used to describe the items in the indicators, the researchers used a formula here below, where weighted mean of each indicator, number of responses, assigned weight, and number of respondents. So the Likert scale was used with the following distributions. So here below are the codes and meaning, the weighted point interval, and descriptive analysis.
So hi, my name is Christopher M. Escarza, and now I will be discussing the result and the discussion of this research. The first one is the frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents according to their family income. Depicts that the family income of 5,001 to 10,000 has the highest percentage, which is 30%, followed by the family that have family income of 5,000 and which below is 27%, while the family that have a family income of 10,001 to 15,000, 0 which is 23%, that the family have 20,000 to 25,000, 0 family income has 7%, that the family that have family income of 25,001 and above the lowest percentage of the whole population, which is 0%. Based on the table above, the family that have family income of 5,001 to 10,000 had the highest percentage of whole population, meaning other family maybe lost a job, lost a business, or etc. because of the pandemic, and this caused losing source of income according to Rivas 2021. Some 3.44 million Filipinos are become jobless because of the pandemic. In these causes, having low income, also having no income at all. The second one is the frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents according to the number of family member. It shows that the number of family member that has 1 to 5 member in a household get the highest percentage, which is 70%, while the family that has 6 to 10 members has 30%, and the family that have member of 10 and above got the lowest percentage, which is 0%. Therefore, most of the families that have 1 to 5 members are affected by this pandemic.
And here of the part of the questionnaire, the impact of the pandemic to the daily life of the selected family in Barangay Villa Principe. The table 2.1 showed the impact of the pandemic to their business and respondents. Agree of the statement of the pandemic taught me a lot about business with a weighted mean of 3.66. Pandemic affects my business with weighted means or 3.90.
perfect time to have my own business. With a weighted means of 1.26, it's really help us an online seller. With a weighted means of 3.33, and experienced business closure with a weighted means of 2.66. So the overall weighted average is 3.56, which is agree. The result found out of that the pandemic really affects their business is this new normal. It's clearly show that they are still fighting and facing these hard times just to live. According to Scudamore, if you're losing your job, surely that the last thing if you would do is to spend money to invest in a business. A lot of Filipino lose their jobs because of the pandemic. That's why it's perfect time to own business to fulfill everyday needs. The next one is the impact of the pandemic to their education. Table 2.2 depicts the percentage of impact of the pandemic in education. The respondents agree on the statements of the change of modular and online class was smooth, with the weighted mean of 3.73. Having a reliable technology use with the weighted mean of 4.10. Online and modular are so stressful, with the weighted means of 0.443. Distance learning would help to stop spreading the virus, with a weighted means of 4.83, and disagree on this statement. Choose to stop schooling, with weighted means of 1.53. So the overall weighted average is 3.72, which is agree based on the result of the respondents. Agree of some of the statements, which means that the pandemic really affects their educations. It really show that they still continue their study in this time of pandemic, just to pursue their dreams. So the highest percentage among the rest that distance learning will help to stop spreading the virus. According to Rashid, states that studying a degree through distance learning gives a number of benefits, like this help save money, flexibility, and also most important, it's help to stop the spread of the virus.
So next is the 2.3. The table 2.3 shows the percentage of the impact of pandemic to the daily routine of the family in Barangay Villa Principe. So the respondents agree on the statement, they strongly are family together, with a weighted mean of 4.23. Next one is having a lot of time bonding with family and friends, with a weighted mean of 4.16. The next one is prefer to buy things online, with a weighted mean of 4.23. Just watching television, using gadgets, and etc. at home, with a weighted mean of 4.63. Behavior hasn't changed at home, with a weighted mean of 4.06. So the overall weighted average is 4.26, which is strongly agree. So the result found out that the pandemic really had an impact on their daily routine, but still have an advantage and disadvantages impact of pandemic to the daily routine, and still they have a family and friends bonding, and most of them said their behavior at home hasn't changed that much and like still normal. So the next table is the 2.3. In this table, it depicts the percentage of the impact of pandemic in terms of having travel restriction. So the respondents agree on the statement, just taking a walk or a bike, with a weighted mean of 3.06. It may lessen the spread of virus in our barangay, with a weighted mean of 4.80. It affects traveling goods and community transportation, with a weighted mean of 4.70. it can cause jobless with a weighted mean of 4.70. Having limited delivery of goods or essential things with a weighted mean of 4.10. So the overall weighted average is 4.20, which is agree. So it clearly shows that the pandemic also affect the people in Barangay Villa Principe on having travel restriction. The next one is the part 3. How does the family survive during the pandemic? So the table 3.1, it is the things they do to survive during pandemic. It depicts the percentage of how the family survived during the pandemic. So the respondents agree on the statement planting vegetable at the backyards with a weighted mean of 4.66. Borrowed money to fulfill everyday needs with a weighted mean of 3.40. And the daily life hasn't changed with a weighted mean of 3.96. Starting my own small business with a weighted mean of 4.70. Selling all stops with a weighted mean of 2.73. So overall weighted average is 3.88, which is agree. So the result found out that the pandemic taught a lot of the people in Barangay Villa Principe on how to survive when this kind of challenges or disaster. So according to OOC 2020, gardening during pandemic can be positive family inclusive activity to adopt. It also a way for adults and children to cope boredom and help families gain a sense of security, and gardening once again became important for fulfilling the needs for food. And that's all our presentation, and thank you.